Good morning. Morning is broken and you bang on time for AM Live Breakfast Show. My name is Debarl and I'm joined this morning as always by Dr. Eseli Simiu, up and early. Congratulations, even when it is numberingly cold. Yeah, you managed to come through.
Yes.
We thank you.
Thank you.
Right, a lot has been happening in the past week. Of course, we want to put that on the table this morning on people and politics. And we shall be hearing from you much later in the course of the program. But also, before we even go further and look at the dailies, you can see what is on the front page of the Daily Nation. Are we broke? This is a copy of the Daily Nation. This is how it looks, and this is what is the headline. Broke Kenya applies for World Bank loan. That is what is on the front page of the Daily Nation today. Are we broke?
I think
We've
not
seen
exactly.
we've seen before that the Cabinet Secretary of Treasury saying that yes, we are broke. Then he had to turn around again and say Kenya is not broke. But here we are again, borrowing money. Are we broke?
Not really broke, just extravagant.
Extravagant.
Yes. I think we are extravagant. Yeah.
Okay.
Not really broke. If we could stop the extravagance, we won't be broke.
We won't be broke.
Yeah.
Good. So we shall be looking at that and after other issues as far as politics is concerned. The war of graft in the counties also, there seem to be a fighting between the Senate and the governors on this. The governors are saying that the senators are witch hunting. You know, some of them also maybe they're positioning themselves to be governors once these current governors actually are out of office. So what does this portend in the fight of corruption within the counties as well? We shall be looking at that and the politics of the week that has been, especially the fake gold politics as well. We've had the Right Honorable Raila Odinga saying that he was a whistleblower, right? But the burning question is, people are asking, why didn't he report this particular incident to the police if he was a whistleblower?
Well, when he says he's a whistleblower, then he definitely must have reported it somewhere. Because to blow the whistle, it means you are actually calling out the people.
But to other parties are saying, you know, the whistleblowing is just from the funerals. And that we'll have a bite on media and that's it.
Well, he'll have to, I think the former Prime Minister will have to explain when he blew the whistle, he blew the whistle to who? Who did he inform?
Who did he inform?
Yes.
Okay, we shall be looking at that as well. So is it all about a pronouncement made in funerals, or should we take these statements very seriously that are made during funerals? Well, that is on people and politics. You saw the Daily Nation. This is the splash today. It's all about broke Kenya applying for World Bank loan. Nairobi seeking a quick fix wants funds to flow directly into budget pass. Barely weeks after getting 210 billion shillings, Eurobond Treasury CS Rotich is looking for another 75 billion shillings to finance President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four projects. Creditworthy? Are we creditworthy? Treasury CS Henry Rotich says in letter to the World Bank that Kenya has sealed corruption loopholes and carried out lifestyle audits on all public servants. Treasury CS Rotich says in a letter to the World Bank that Kenya has sealed corruption loopholes and carried out lifestyle audits on all public servants. Right. So do you agree with him? Have we sealed all the loopholes as far as corruption is concerned? And have we even known anyone who has been taken to the lifestyle audits successfully? You tell me. You have this story on page 6 of the Daily Nation this morning. Also, it says, meanwhile here, tax dodgers get bolder. Traders Nairobi combine various goods in one container. Traders in Nairobi combine various goods in one container and then declare them as transit to avoid paying tax in what could be robbing KRA of billions of shillings in tax revenues. Such cargo consolidation, part of an elaborate scheme, complicates scanning and computation of tax for the goods, which take long to verify. Also, any delay in clearance sparks heavy lobbying, including demonstrations to push for clearance. Yesterday, rather than order the release of the goods, President Uhuru Kenyatta said all cargo consolidators should be vetted and gazetted. And you have this story continuing also inside the Daily Nation today. You can see a related picture there. President Uhuru Kenyatta with senior government officials conduct an impromptu inspection of cargo containers at the Inland Container Depot in Nairobi last Sunday. That is how the Daily Nation looks. Also, ODM takes referendum dialogue to budget team. The Orange Democratic Movement now wants money for a referendum factored into the budget for the coming financial year, saying the plebiscite is inevitable. Party Secretary General Edwin Sifuna said yesterday the rank and file of the Raila-led party is looking forward to a referendum in the next financial year, and hence the need for money to be provided for it. He spoke barely a day after 9 party lawmakers asked Mr. Odinga and President Kenyatta to fast-track the activities of the Building Bridges initiative so as to pave the way for a referendum. You have this story continuing on page 7 of the Daily Nation this morning. A quick look now at the Standard. Revealed talks that forced Uhuru to act. Cry of traders. State House meeting shows pain of small importers, forcing President Uhuru Kenyatta to visit the inland containers depot at Embakasi 2 days in a row and order all seized containers to be released within the next 3 weeks. You have this story continuing on page 6 of the Standard this morning. We'll give you also all these details as well. UN Summit push for cleaner and more hospitable cities. First of its kind, President Uhuru Kenyatta unveils a commemorative pillar during the official opening of the inaugural United Nations Human Settlement Program at the United Nations complex in Gigiri, Nairobi yesterday. Also, ex-minister in Israel farm bribery scandal. Is all about corruption here. Police in Israel say they have sufficient evidence to show an Israeli firm and its senior executives paid bribes in Africa, including Kenya, where 19 officials have been questioned. This story continues on page 31. That is a business pull-out magazine inside the Standard this morning. A quick look now at the Star. Wife of ex-top cop linked to fake gold scam. Woman has been pushing for release of suspects. UAE ruler should say yet to give go-ahead for statement recording. And this story continues on page 6 of the Star this morning. And also special meal hour of ugalu, kuku and pepper. You can see here Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja and ODM leader Raila Odinga having lunch at Bama Market in Nairobi yesterday. Uhuru orders release of cargo held at KPA Inland Depot. You have the story continuing on page 2 of the Star this morning. Also, Anti-Ruto Brigade maps 8 counties in Rift Valley to kick out DP. Anti-Ruto Brigade maps out 8 counties in Rift Valley to kick out DP. This is all about 2022 strategy. Mombasa Governor Joho is using proxies to take over KPA. This is what Githu is saying here. It's a legal tussle. And families mourn relatives killed on Uganda prayer trip. That story continues on page 28 of the Star this morning. People Daily is up next, and this is what you're waking up to on the front page of the People Daily. We'll try and lift that People Daily if we have it this morning. If we don't, I'll show you just what we have on the front page of the hard copy. But we can continue and see also what is on the front page of the Business Daily. And this is your splash today. Heirs of Muranga tycoons fight for multi-billion estates. Families of fallen businessmen and politicians spend billions in endless court battles that put their inherited fortunes at stake. This story continues on page 4 of the Business Daily this morning. Barclays CEO's annual pay hits 100 million shillings. Barclays Bank of Kenya CEO Jeremy Aworri's earnings jumped 12.9% to 101.1 million shillings in the year ended December, partly driven by a higher cash bonus payout. That story continues on page 4 of the Business Daily this morning. You have a standalone picture here. This is the simmering dispute. Business owners salvaged their property as Nairobi City County officials demolished the Pimp My Ride premises on the Kenyatta Avenue yesterday. City Hall said the approval plan was for a parking space, but this was later converted to other businesses. The Pimp My Ride business was built on the same plot of land where Simmers Bar and restaurants used to be. Simmers was also demolished under a cloud of a long-running legal dispute. And this is how the picture of devastated business owners yesterday trying to salvage some of their property. EABL new moms to get 6-month maternity. EABL new mums to get 6-month maternity. Female employees of beer making East African Breweries Limited, EABL, could get up to 6 months paid maternity leave in line with the British parent company Diageo's global policy for its workers. The policy, which offers one of the most generous packages for working parents, is expected to go live from July the 1st. EABL yesterday announced that it had started rolling out the enhanced benefit for both its male and female employees in the region as part of its campaign to create a fully inclusive and diverse workforce. The new policy will give both mothers and fathers prolonged periods of paid parental leave, regardless of how long they have worked at the company. That story continues on page 4 of the Business Daily. Also on the ticker, Bamburi pays KRA 332 million shillings in tax deal. Bamburi Cement has paid Kenya Revenue Authority 332 million shillings to settle long-running dispute with the taxman. This story continues on page 8 of the Business Daily today. Today's digit is 14 billion shillings. This is the cost of the Mau Summit Kericho Kisumu Highway project awarded to Israeli firm Shikun and Binui in 2010. You can follow the story on page 2. Also, housing finance to cut loan size in next 2 years. Mortgage financier, that is HF, is turning its focus to affordable housing financing as part of a plan to double its housing loans to 12,000 in the next 2 years. You can follow this story on page 19 of the Business Daily. We fly over now to Uganda and Tanzania. Let's begin with Tanzania and see what the Citizen is holding for us today. Ministry, it says, gets 100 million shillings of 19.6 billion shillings project funds. Several projects that the Ministry of Minerals had lined up for the implementation in the current financial year may have suffered after only a tiny fraction of the approved development budget was disbursed. This story continues on page 2 of the Citizen this morning. Also, agents push up milk prices as supply dips. Milk prices have jumped, I should say, by between 100 shillings to 2,000 shillings per litre on account of fees charged by agents and pressure on supply of the commodity across the country. How John Pombe Magufuli opened door to Tanzanian teachers in South Africa. President John Magufuli's visit to South Africa was a boon to Tanzanians as it paved the way for Kiswahili teachers to land teaching jobs in the Rainbow Nation. You can follow the story on page 2 of the Citizen in Tanzania. Also, man commits suicide after killing wife, mother-in-law, and neighbor as well. You can follow the story on page 3 of the Citizen this morning. Let's see the Swahili version of this. This is Mwananchi. Nyalandu akamatwa is a splash today. Ni pamoja na wenzake wawili watuhumiwa kwa rushwa na kufanya mikutano isiyoruhusiwa. You can follow the story on page 2 of the Mwananchi this morning. Also, mtoto mwema, we can see Gombo Jumbe akisaidiwa na mtoto wake mwenye umri wa miaka 3, Rahma Gombo, kuendesha baiskeli yake alipokuwa akiingia kwenye viwanja vya Nyerere Square. Serikali yapiga nyundo ya mwisho matumizi ya mifuko ya plastiki is another story that you want to follow on page 4 of the Mwananchi if you're waking up in Tanzania this morning. In Uganda, we have the Daily Monitor. Uganda arrests 2 Rwandan spies. Of course, we have those quotes there. Rwandan officials ask Kampala to release the duo, but Uganda says the 2 have been taken for further management after entering the country illegally. You can follow the story on page 2 of the Daily Monitor this morning. Also, it says Rwandan health officials wheel the casket containing the remains of John Batista Kerenyegie onto an ambulance from Rwanda at the No Man's Land in Katuna in Kabale district yesterday. A Rwandan soldier reportedly shot dead Kerenyegre, a Rwandan national, and Alex Nyesiga, a Uganda national, at the weekend. Uganda yesterday Uganda yesterday handed over the body of Kyerengie to Rwandan officials in the presence of diplomatic corps. Try and expand it so that I can see it clearly. Corps attached to Uganda. You can follow the story also inside the Daily Monitor if you're waking up in Rwanda this morning. Age limit bonus sparks fight in Supreme Court is another story that you can follow also inside the Daily Monitor in Uganda. Page 4 and 5 is where it is tucked away. And now we can also take a quick look at the New Times in Rwanda. And it says, Ugandan army abducted my only child. This is what a frustrated mother is saying here. It says, Laurentia Muka Gatera, a resident of Tabagwe sector, Nyagatare district, has accused the Ugandan army of abducting her only child in September last year. The distraught mother told officials and residents of a local meeting near the Ugandan border yesterday that her son, that is Maniriho, was seized along with 6 others from the border area. You can follow the story on page 3 of the New Times in Rwanda. Also, General Kamanzi completes tour of duty as UN Miss Force Commander, or Miss, whichever pronunciation really fancies you. And we can see him here. That is Kamanzi, the outgoing Force Commander of the United Nations mission in South Sudan, bidding farewell to senior officers serving under the mission in Juba yesterday. He's seen here shaking hands with Colonel Vincent Mugisha, the contingent commander of Rwandan peacekeepers. The Rwandan general returns home after successfully completing his 2-year tour of duty as UNMISS Force Commander. He has been replaced by Indian Lieutenant Jan Shailesh Tinaikar. This story continues on page 3 of the New Times in Rwanda. Also, 25% of Kigali set aside for recreational spaces. You can follow the story on page 5 of the New Times this morning. Let's continue and see what we have also on the front page of Taifa Leo, which I didn't show you. Uhuru azinduka. This is a splash today. Ripoti kuhusu kushuka kwa umaarufu wake zafanya rais achukue hatua kutuliza wafuasi wake. This is a splash today, and you can follow the story on page 2 of Taifa Leo. Hofu ziwa Victoria likinyakuliwa na wafanya biashara is another story that continues on page 2 of Taifa Leo. Obviously, the East Africa this week. The East African this week looks like this, and this is a splash. Treasury accused of share grab in National Bank sale. Opponents of the sale say it is proceeding without the input of the Privatization Commission. And this story continues on page 4 of the East African this week. Also, high risk EA to use trial Ebola vaccine. Ebola treatment centers in the DRC have come under repeated attack. And it says here, let me just read a snippet of it, that even as Ebola response teams struggle to contain the disease outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo, East African community ministers of health say they are alive to the risks and are now considering using an experimental Ebola vaccine. In the recent past, Ebola treatment centers in the DRC have come under repeated attack, while response workers have been unable to move about in outbreak hotspots. You can follow the story on page 21 of the East African. Also, why affordable bush loose can kill you. This is on Outlook Pullout magazine on page 19 of the East African this week. Right, a quick look now at the editorial cartoons that we have for you today. Let's just begin with what is in the Daily Nation today, according to Victor, and this is what he's drawn for us today. Baba CV for AU Special Envoy position. This is how it looks, right? In a moment, we'll be joined by panelists also to comment on some of these editorial cartoons as well. But this is what Victor has drawn for us today. This is inside the Daily Nation. You can grab a copy of that. Let me show you also what we have from Stano. And this is what Tino has drawn for us this morning. It's all about the Shujaa team, our rugby team, from glory to grass. From 2016, this is where they were. Currently, they're going down the tubes. This is what has been captured by Tino inside the People Daily this morning. So make sure you grab a copy of the Daily Nation. I'll be remiss also if I don't show you what the People Daily is holding for us, because I told you I'll show you the hard copy of the People Daily, and this is how it looks. Relief as Uhuru orders seized goods released is what is on the front page of the People Daily this morning. Relief as Uhuru orders seized goods released. Also still on the front page of the People Daily. Wetangula to be grilled over gold scandal tomorrow. That is also on page 2 of the People Daily. And you can follow the story that is headlining the front page of the People Daily on page 4. And you can see a related picture as well. President makes early morning visit to the inland container depot in response to cries of traders whose wares had been held in ongoing anti-counterfeit war. Remember also, some of these wares have been held there for the last 2 good years. And this really made the small traders angry. They took special umbrage with that, and they sought the audience of the president at State House, and that's where we have that particular response. And of course, that is also a segue to our story, where small and medium scale traders who had their goods held up at the inland container depot in Embakasi could also receive their goods as soon as next month, after the president ordered the release of the goods. The president, however, said the goods will only be released after following the laid down procedures. He has also ordered the fresh vetting of consolidators who import goods for both Kenya and neighboring countries. Brenda Wanga starts us off.
For the second time in as many days, President Uhuru Kenyatta was at the inland container depot in Nairobi's Embakasi area.
Kwa sababu tumekuwa tukiongea na ni vizuri niseme hapa.
His visits here to find out what has been the cause of delay in releasing over 1,000 containers of goods imported by small-scale and medium-scale traders. His visit and subsequent meetings with stakeholders revealing that the delays could have been caused by unscrupulous businessmen who were keen to evade paying tax. He also found out that some paperwork failed to distinguish goods meant for the local market and those for export.
Zingine ambazo zimekuweko ni kwa sababu kuna wengine ambao wanafanya hii mambo ya consolidation, wanalete mizigo, lakini wameweka container, wanasema hii mizigo inaenda Uganda, hii mizigo inaenda South Sudan, wakijaribu kuhepa kulipa ushuru. Hiyo ni poa kweli.
The president now says the operations will only be permitted after the government cleans up the consolidators' functions. The news of the intervention undoubtedly good for the traders who had for weeks been held in limbo for failure to clear their goods at the inland container depot. Only last week, the traders, largely from Nairobi, had reached out to county leaders, including Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko, to seek audience with the highest office in the land to try and break the standoff between them and the Kenya Revenue Authority. The president, while granting the traders reprieve, warned against the importation of counterfeit goods into the country, a practice he says is not hurting just the government's revenue streams but was also robbing young entrepreneurs of the chance to earn a living.
Lazima tuvet na tuhakikishe ya kwamba hawa ambao walikuwa wanajaribu kufanya hiyo biashara ya panya roots tuwaweke kando, tutumie watu ambao ni haki, mizigo ikuje, tulipe ushuru, mizigo itoke haraka, na ndio wananchi waweze kuendelea na biashara zao. Si ndi kweli? Hiyo ndio tunaita win-win. So that is key to what we have agreed. Na mimi sina shaka ya kwamba na tumekubaliana tutakutana tena baada ya wiki 3 tukijua ya kwamba kazi hiyo tumemaliza.
He was accompanied to the ICD by Interior CS Fred Matiang'i, PS Karanja, Kibisho, and heads of the multi-agency task force that was probing the traders' complaints. Meanwhile, more Kenya Revenue Authority staff based at the headquarters in Nairobi have been in police custody since Friday. Staff from the Customs and Domestic Tax departments were rounded up as the DCI continues with investigations into the fraud at the tax agency. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
Now, two suspects believed to be Jared Otieno's aides have been charged separately in yet another fake gold case involving another foreigner. Meanwhile, another case against Jared Otieno and 15 other accused persons implicated in another fake gold case came up in the same court, where the suspects were released on bond. NTV's Seth Olale was at the Milimani Law Courts and followed the day's proceedings.
Philip Nation alias Aroko and Robert Ouko alias Maxwell Oyuga pleaded not guilty to the charge of conspiracy to defraud a Dubai businessman of 26 million shillings. The suspects, who are believed to be close associates of Jared Otieno, are accused of pretending that they were in a position to ship 200 kilograms of gold to one Juan Carlos Cadeno Gomez from Nairobi to Dubai between the 6th and the 31st of October 2018. The deal to dupe Juan Carlos Cadeno Gomez, a director of Global Solutions Consulting Limited Company, was made in a house along Vihiga Road off Mwingi Road, Kileleshwa area in Nairobi. The suspects, who denied obtaining the money by false pretense, will know on Tuesday if the court will grant them bail. Their case will come up before Milimani Chief Magistrate Francis Andai. Nation and Ouko were also charged in another fake gold case that also involves Jared Otieno. The three are accused of conspiring to defraud a foreign national by the name Southern Chantav Wong 300 million shillings by falsely pretending that they had genuine gold for sale. They were released on a 1.5 million shillings cash bail by Chief Magistrate Francis Andai. Two other suspects implicated in the JKIA fake gold seizure are still in police custody. They are expected to be arraigned this week when they will take plea. Seth Olale, NTV, at the Milimani Law Courts, Nairobi County.
Now, a mediation committee formed by both houses of parliament to find a solution to the stalemate over the division of revenue bill hasn't made much progress, as both sides are still clinging to their headline positions. Though both sides have made some concessions, they are yet to agree on how much the counties should get, and the Senate insists on a figure of 327 billion shillings, while the National Assembly is stuck at 310 billion shillings. The dragged-out impasse now threatens to stall operations at both levels of government, as the bill outlines how the national and county governments should share monies. At the same time, Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru was before the Senate to defend her expenditure, and where she alleges a plot by the national government to deduct monies from counties without their knowledge. Waiguru blamed IFMIS for the errors that saw counties' budget for national government functions, and claims someone at the Treasury intentionally sabotaged the 14 counties. NTV's political affairs reporter Kennedy Mureithi has more on this.
Almost every governor that has appeared before the Senate Public Accounts and Investments Committee has blamed IFMIS for some of the money discrepancies that have been found in their counties. But today, Governor Waiguru, who is one of those that came up with the idea of using that system, insists that it is waterproof, and if there are questions that need to be asked with regards to monies that have been lost or discrepancies that are being found in that system, then they have to be attributed to human error.
The system is as good as the people who use it. So I will not defend officers, for example, if they do not use the system as they ought, because bottom line, they are the ones who are with a fiduciary responsibility to ensure that they enter every entry into the system, and therefore when they don't, then they are the ones who are held responsible for that. But you cannot say it's the system, because the system cannot enter data by itself.
According to Waiguru, the National Treasury has questions to answer on how 14 counties, including her own, allocated funds for State House functions. Waiguru, who was put to task by the Senate Public Accounts and Investments Committee, argues in her defense that there was a scheme to either siphon monies from counties or reallocate monies from counties without involvement of county heads to State House or other state bodies, thus the errors. She claims the IFMIS system may have been tampered with in an attempt to exonerate the counties from claims they misused that money, amounting to billions of shillings.
I have a problem when the system is usually blamed for things that are actually man-made.
The Senate committee insists that counties must adhere to the usage of IFMIS as the sole source of accounting and that they will flag any misuse of public funds.
The ones who have insisted on every governor who has come here that we can only believe IFMIS numbers. And for Kirinyaga, we were expecting that we are going to believe IFMIS numbers. You understand the system, you understand what the promise was, you understand how to make it work. If it cannot work for Kirinyaga, then it means that we might reach the conclusion that IFMIS is a system that needs to be thought of again.
The Auditor General had flagged some payments that had been made outside the system.
Kennedy Mureithi, NTV at Parliament Buildings.
Right, graft in the counties, and of course we want to hear this particular play out of tug of war between the governors and the senators as well as far as the 2022 is concerned. Most of the governors are insisting that yes, the people who have interest for, most of the senators who have interest for 2022, of course, governorship seats, they're using these particular forums for their own political expediency as well. And that was what was on the front page of the People Daily as well, and on page 4 of the People Daily yesterday. Senators' 2022 plans play out in governors' grilling. County chiefs accuse lawmakers of using oversight role to advance 2022 political interest. But that is just a snippet of what we're discussing this morning. We wanted to look at the broader view of also what is happening within the counties lately as far as transparency is concerned, and the budgets as well. And allow me to introduce our panelists this morning. Earlier on, if you joined us at 6 o'clock on the nose, we had introduced to you Dr. Eseli Simiyu, who is a Secretary General of Ford Kenya, and also he is a Member of Parliament for Tongaren. We have with us as well Kimani Mwatangi, who is a Senator for Kiambu. We have Jacob Midio with us, who is a former Member of Parliament for Game. And also joining us this morning is the veteran of football and politics, Mithika Linturi, who went missing for a while, but he bobs once in a while to see how people are doing on the forum as well. He is the Senator of Meru County. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen. Good morning.
Morning.
So where do we begin? I think a lot has been happening, and Kimani Matangi has been busy for the last 2 weeks, having sessions, and the Senator also, Mithika Linturi as well, people appearing before the Senator and you grilling them, but also they're seeing there is a political angle to this, that most of you who are interested for vying for governorship in 2022 are also using this particular platform to actually grill the members and to put or air their dirty linens in public so far. I don't know, but we can begin, especially in Kiambu. A lot has been happening in the Kiambu County.
Yes.
And of course, you're the custodian of that particular county as well.
Absolutely.
So all these things that are flying in the air right now, him being raided at his house, taken to EACC, a lot of money that has been salted away in different accounts of their relatives or friends as well. Some of the cars, there are 12 of them, but now the EACC has verified this belongs to him as well. I mean, what is really happening in Kiambu County?
Well, Debarl, not only in Kiambu County, but with a more global perspective in the entire of all the 47 counties. Because, as you've correctly said, you've been following, and I'm sure Kenyans have been following, the sessions of the Public Accounts Committee in the Senate for the last 1 month or so. And very, very few counties, I would say almost all counties that have appeared, have got gross issues of either misapplication, misuse, or misappropriation of public funds. And let me say, Debarl, it is my conclusion, after sitting in those committees, that even the current governors who have taken over offices, or the ones who were there before and have managed to secure a second term, very, very, very few, or rarely, is there a case where you would point out and say that there is a marked difference in the way things were being done before. If you look at some of the audit queries, and let me explain quickly that what we decided to do because of 2 things. One, that we need to be current with the questions that we're asking as far as propriety of funds is concerned. We decided as a committee first to fast-track the process. Remember, there has been a complaint all the time in Parliament that Parliament has been auditing accounts which are way outdated. And for example, the budget allocations to counties this year are being done on the basis of the accounts of 2013, 2014. So we decided to get current. We adopted an omnibus process whereby we consolidated all the accounts of 2015, 16, 16, 17, so that we can be current now with 17, 18. And surprisingly, if you look at some of the accounts of the governors who are answering to those earlier years, and including the current ones, the issues are the same. You find that especially issues of correct bookkeeping, sometimes I would call it intentional misleading figures entered into their books to hide either huge holes, misallocations, or in some cases clear theft. And that is where the Public Accounts Committee has been coming from. It is unfortunate, let me say so, that that is misrepresented, and I believe not normally. There has to be somebody behind the scenes who is trying to push that narrative, that senators who are sitting in that committee are pushing an agenda for 2022. Nothing could be further from the truth, Debarl. If you look at the line of questioning, if you look at the reference documents, all those documents referred to, and I know you've raised, like, for example, the case of Kiambu, which is the county that I represent. All the documents which have been relied upon by the committee to raise those questions are: 1, the Auditor General's report; 2, the response by governors themselves; and 3, the annexures and attachments that governors bring to support their case. And those are the reference documents. There's nothing that is either initiated or that emanates from the Senate. And so it is upon their own evidence that some of those issues arise. For example, look at this big question of the bizarre budget lines of spendings in State House, in South Sudan, for ECD, for free education, and so on. And you see, the committee was looking at documents which have been placed before it by a governor who has walked in, and all of them, including in yesterday's case. You saw, if you followed, when the governor for Kenyatta came. First, we had to make sure that her people have perused the documents, confirmed and signed in front of the committee that those documents indeed have emanated from them, and they're the financial statements that they themselves have presented and signed. And then behind it, you tell them, flip to the last page and look at a budget line there. There is an item there called State House Affairs. There is an item there called support for MDAs. And so where do they come from? That now gave rise to the explanation that you had from the governor. But some of the fundamental questions that one needs to ask is, for example, is it now, for accounts that were signed in December 2018, when the Auditor General, for example, went to some of those counties, like yesterday's county, Kirinyaga, where the Auditor General was there early in the month of September and August.
Yes.
Is it now in 2019, in May, that these counties are looking at those accounts and seeing those bizarre budget lines? Now, but even more fundamentally to me, if you flip backwards now, after before that question, you find that there are also big questions that the counties themselves have not satisfied. For example, if you find a county that is being told you have a budget that does not balance. Secondly, you have got variances in what you have presented to us between what you actually say you have spent and what shows in the system. You have a variance, for example, of about 2 billion. Now, if for almost 1 year, you have not been able to explain to the Auditor General, as per his questions, where your 2 billion is, for that query to arrive on the desk of the Senate, then how can you argue, for example, that then this is something that you have to blame on someone else, when you have yourself not taken the initiative to deal with it, and yet the law has availed you every means and the window to do so? Now that tells you, and I would want to couple it with the fact that not only in the bigger issues, even in the smaller issues, you find, for example, like on pending bills, you find counties which are current, where governors have been sitting for 7 years, and the ones who have come in, you find, for example, like in Nairobi County's case, you find, like in the case of even Kirinyaga, which was there yesterday, none of them reports pending bills which are either shrinking because they have sorted them and paid them, but pending bills that are growing. So you see, some of those hard questions, Debarl, must be asked. Remember, and let me finalize by saying this. Remember, for example, none of those governors have not been in public crying that they are not able to render services to their own people. Can I use, for example, like that case reference for Kenyatta, whereby the governor was in the public domain a few months ago, I mean, with a tiff with medical personnel, nurses, that they can't afford to pay them, and that brought a big problem even to their hospitals.
Thank you.
And then you have a query, for example, that says that you are taking money, about 12 million, and going to give it to an entity called the Council of Governors, which is funded by national government, on the other hand, and paying an illegal amount to sustain an office that you enter on only once in a month. That 12 million, if you're paying nurses 50,000 a month, how many nurses could you pay? You could pay 300 nurses. What we are saying is that governors must take seriously the role they have been given. And if they misconstrue that to mean that the senators who sit or attend those sessions are interested in their positions, it is intended to mislead. It is intended to divert attention.
All right. Just a pointed question, briefly, yes or no.
Yes.
Are you intending, do you have ambitions to be the governor of Kiambu?
No, Debarl, this is the year 2019. Elections are going to be held in 2022. Any sensible person who knows what they're elected to do keeps their focus on their work. That is what you've been seeing.
But a good man plans for the future.
Well, I mean,
that's what I'm asking.
You say,
we know.
Let me tell you.
Do you have plans?
My focus is on the work that I'm doing right now.
Omatangi, it was always...
And come 2022, we will have the debate for 2022.
What I'm asking is just a bipolar question, yes or no. Yeah, I don't need a lot of explanation.
My answer is precisely what I've told you, that my focus now is precisely on the work that I'm doing. To ensure that services are rendered to the people of Kiambu, and to ensure that there's credibility in the expenditures of Kiambu.
Yes or no?
Nothing else.
Yes or no? Simple.
I am focused on working for the people of Kiambu this year until 2022, when we shall have that debate.
Yes or no? All right. A lot of explanation then leaves a lot of answers as well. Lumi Glaja on that as well. Right? Let's hear just from Senator Mithika Linturi, because also you can see there's a picture here of the People Daily.
I'm seeing it now. I'm surprised.
You didn't see it?
Which paper is this?
This is a People Daily.
For when?
You can just put it on air so that this is yesterday's.
Yeah?
It's yesterday.
Yeah, governors who are protesting over grilling by senators, and of course yours has been put alongside Kiratu Murungi as well. Maybe you can begin with that question that we had posed to Kimani Matangi. Yes, so that you can tell us, do you have ambitions as well? And do you think these particular sentiments from the governors, they think you're witch hunting because also most of you have ambitions to be governors in 2022?
I think, and I'm happy to be back here and to all the listeners. And let me start by saying that devolution is something that we really fought for in the current constitution, because I won't say it's new, because now we've been with it for the last almost 8 years. And that is one of the major areas that we cannot be proud of as Kenyans, because the whole idea about that chapter was to demystify the presidency, take power closer to the people, and ultimately get resources allocated to the grassroots and for purpose of development. But I want to say that the devolution, from what I have seen, has serious challenges, and is something that we must all roll our sleeves and protect jealously, because if the trend of plunder, misuse of public resources is from what we have seen is something to go by, then people really regret why devolution was to come about. And when I hear people talk about the governors protesting or crying about the grilling being done by the Senate, I want to tell you the whole idea is diversionary, and I want to tell Kenyans to remain focused on the activities of the governors, and I want to defend the position of the Senate in far as the appearances of the governors are concerned before the committee in the right context, because Article 10 of the Constitution of Kenya, this is what I will be referring to, Article 96(3) and Article 232 of the Constitution, because for if people remember, Article 10 is the constitutional provision of national values and principles of governance. And this will tell you that if you have to be a governor for whatever you want to do, for any kind of policy you want to make, the aspect of public participation, integrity, inclusiveness, accountability, equity, and social justice are things that must be really properly considered. And the 96 gives the Senate the power to allocate resources and to oversight, and I want to stress this one, to oversight the resources going to the counties from the national government. And Article 232 is an article that should be so clear in anyone's mind that sits in a public office, because it talks about values and principles of public service. And when you look and to conceptualize what this talks about, when it talks about the involvement of the people, once again, accountability, accountability for administrative actions, efficient, effective economic use of resources, transparent provision of public with the timely and accurate information is something you cannot run away from. So what we are just trying to do here as the Senate, because I sit there and I'm the vice chair of that committee, yes, and my very able member of the committee, Senator Matangi from Kebu, we are trying to tell the public that please, we have a duty, don't mistake us, we have a duty as the people's watchdog in the counties to tell you how your money is being spent. And the principal primary documents of oversight that senators use is the report of the Auditor General and the report from the Controller of Budget. Because the Auditor General's report will tell you whether the money given to counties within that particular year was spent in accordance with the law, or whether there was loss, or whether there was privilege, whether there was theft or not. Secondly, the Controller of Budget is the constitutional office, I think, under Article 239, that monitors budget performance. So the problem that you have seen in the Senate, and I think I want to take this opportunity to really explain, is that when the senators sit down and interrogate the report of the Auditor General vis-a-vis the explanation that is being given to committee, we completely feel that there are still gaps, and the information that is given is not convincing even to a class 1 student to understand, or pupil to understand the answer given to a particular question is not realistic. And that is what Wamatangi has been trying to explain, so I do not want to get into it again. We are even going further, because mathematics formulas don't lie, and reports are within us from independent offices. Like, for example, when we are talking about the county of Mer, which have been where the primary oversight role together with my other leaders, you realize that if the report of the Auditor General says that so much money was not accounted for, and because money was not accounted for, you must ask why. And if the Controller of Budget tells you, when we have given 8 billion and 7 million within a particular year for use, yes, to provide public with tangible projects that can be seen, and at the end of the financial year, a report comes out saying that the absorption capacity of this county is 25%. 25% out of 100 is dismal performance. So this is what we are trying to tell the people, and taking advantage of the situation to tell Kenyans. And I now want to thank the media and everybody else for covering these proceedings live, so that at least they're able to understand which governor is working, which governor is not working. And I would want to tell the public that they must restrain themselves from being diverted from looking at the real issues and the political gymnastics that are being introduced in this oversight by the governors, because they do not want to be accountable. You will find in cases where the governor, because he has to fight the senator, and he doesn't want the senator to speak about, collect MCAs, collect other officers, very indiscreet kind of people, those that work in office, asking to go with them in meetings to insult or to talk badly about the leaders. But I would want us to concentrate, because we don't know why we sought particular offices to concentrate on our mandate.
Right, thank you. Let's hear from Dr. Eseli.
I think the country is facing a problem of poor planning, in the sense that after devolution, I don't think we really went down there to assist the counties to get off the ground, in the sense that the counties inherited staff from the local authorities. If you go back to the accounts, audit accounts of local authorities, the same problems they're facing now were actually there from the audited accounts of the local authorities. Most of these staff were then inherited by the counties. And most of these staff actually are well grounded in those nefarious ways of doing their things, and they seem not to be able to be corrected. The other person to blame is the SRC, because the counties are unable to attract good quality staff because of what the SRC insisted that the counties can pay their staff. So you find very good quality staff, maybe in finance or even taxation for that matter, because the counties are collecting taxes. They are not attracted to join those devolved units. So in other words, we've saddled the devolved units with incompetent staff who don't have the experience. So you get all these mistakes. And then sometimes we don't listen to advice. Like the Auditor General has advised clearly that IFMIS should be separated, so that the devolved units have their own and the national government has its own, to help in better monitoring and accountability. Nobody's talking about that. Despite the Auditor General, who has been auditing these units, suggesting that as one of the solutions. So I think there is a big problem there, and the county assemblies themselves have failed their oversight roles. They don't seem to understand it. In fact, like right now, I would dare say, Debarl, that in many counties, the assembly members are living large, not really doing their jobs. They are living large. So we have a situation where we wanted devolution, yes, but we did not go about it the correct way, so that we can have it well-grounded, solid, so that it can be able to help. And then the other thing is the issues of integrity. We've allowed people with questionable integrity to rise to very high levels, up to being governor. I mean, how do you expect such a person to run a county transparently? It's not possible. I mean, if we actually have even simple, stupid mistakes that the governors make, which should not happen for somebody with high integrity. And then, lastly, Debarl, when the governors accuse the senators of wanting their seats, I don't really blame the governors. I think the DP himself started this thing of early campaigns. So everybody's into early campaign mode. You find people declaring this, declaring that. I agree with Wamatangi that now is not the time for anybody, even if you had that ambition, now would not be the time to be declaring your interests, because you just create disharmony within the county. Okay, Jacob.
Yeah, Debarl, what I find interesting is Uhuru lamenting over IFMIS. Uhuru is to IFMIS as IFMIS is to Uhuru. She should not be the one lamenting, really. She knows.
No, she's been here and she said that IFMIS, when she was the director of IFMIS at the ministry or at the treasury, it was working seamlessly. She doesn't. She fails to understand why right now they have, issues with IFMIS, and it was working seamlessly then. So why is it now not working?
Because she exposed it to loopholes, not properly implemented, never been audited. I think IFMIS must be relooked at. But let me do something unusual. Let me say that the Senate is doing a good job. A very, very good job. And Matangi, when you meet your chairman, Kajuan, tell him I would not mind him being the next governor of Homa Bay. I would not mind him if he wishes. Whatever I can do, I will help. Because he is chairman-like, he is carrying himself well, and that committee is doing a very good job. Bwana Linturi, I was impressed the day you declared that you knew that company that traded with City Hall. That is integrity. I think we are getting somewhere. I wish the National Assembly could do as much. The Senate is, I'm very proud. I watched those proceedings. The Senate is doing a good job. I think the counties were wrongly incepted. So the inception never took over cleanly. So you have a host of governors who are just thieves. Look, if a governor can go and say, if you knew how much wealth I have, you will commit suicide. If a governor can say that, it's a public officer. And Honorable Simiu, it is not how much money you are paid. It is integrity of the public office. It isn't about money. We have to do this, and I think the Senate is really working for us. I'm proud of you guys.
Thank you.
So what am I saying, Debarl? The governors who are accused of graft must not set foot in public office. What we have said here, day in, day out. I think once they're accused, either by the Senate or in court, I think they need to step aside. Because there's so much which is wrong. I would wish to see the governor of Sierra defend himself before the Senate. People, the amount of deaths, the ones which are doing wrong, they must face the law. I mean, how long can we carry this burden on behalf of people who are just plundering public resources? I think it is also fair to say that there are politicians, some of whom we are sitting with on this panel day in, day out, who have also helped the governors plunder public resources. And we need to name them.
You sit on this panel?
I have seen a few on your panel.
Which panel?
I've seen them on Monday, I've seen them on Tuesday. Those 2 days, People who have...
And you've never called them out and they seated next to you?
It was not an issue of debate. Like all these people supported these governors, they are now... Okay. I'm the one who has never supported a corrupt government. Right. All of them have always supported this corrupt government.
Okay, we take a short break right now. We have... this is Mwana saying, I have one question. He's asking, which recommendation does the Senate PAC give or gives? I read malice in this report. Why don't you follow up with the Treasury and know which transpired in this IFMI system? You and the EACC, we are tired of your games. This is what Mwana is saying here. Also, we have Kabeni Wambo saying, Wamatangi, do you really have good governors as you pronounce? Do we really have good governors? And also, Karioki Muirwi is asking or saying, do the senators have experienced CPA accountants to guide them? If they don't, the county accountants will take them in circles endlessly. Kajwang, Matangi, and the rest enumerate and cannot question governors from a position of strength when it comes to accountancy. This is what how he thinks. Karioki Muirwi as well here. Right.
So highly qualified.
We take a short break. We'll actually circle back with more of this.
We can have a word on that.
So yeah, we'll circle back with more on the other side of a break and also turn our focus on the politics of Mount Kenya region as well. Don't go away. County, also the Senator of Kiambu, Kimani Matangi, Jacob Medio, former member of Parliament of Game. Also, we have a member of Parliament for Tongaren. This is Dr. Eseli Simiu. We also have regrets from Dr. Otene Amolo, who is away, and also Aaron Cheriot as well, who are away this morning. Let's continue on that particular front briefly before we gravitate to other issues as far as the counties is concerned. I heard you raising the issue of the former was it the not really counties, municipal local authorities, yes, the local authorities. But I think also the things that have been inherited from the local authorities, we have a solution that you came up with the assumption of governor's bill, where now we have inheritance issues and people are claiming, oh, this was a previous governor who actually was holding this particular budget, so I cannot be held accountable. Yeah. Just briefly, how does this address these issues correctly, the assumption of governor's act right now, which was assented by the president?
To begin with, Debarl, for that to succeed, and that's what I've said loudly, I've said it to every governor who appeared before us this month, is for that to become useful, to give effect to that law, the current governors must first take the steps they need to take. For example, I took issue with most of them. From the time when they assumed office in 2013, you can imagine the complaint that the Transition Authority laid on the table of Parliament before leaving was that they have been unable to complete their works because of financial constraints. And, for example, all assets that belonged to the local authorities then, most of it had been taken over by privateers, grabbed for that matter. And in that pursuit, that was left in the hands of Parliament and then transferred to IGTRC. Governors have a role, the ones who are sitting, to first have entered that into records. And that's what I said in the law that I proposed, and which I'm glad, and I've really thanked so many people who helped me to come up with this law. That now there is a lawful way to do it. That it is now incumbent upon a sitting governor to ensure that there is a clear record of all assets that belong to that county. Since the time we incepted devolution in 2013, and indeed reflecting all the assets of that county, since that were handed over by the defunct local authorities, and then subsequently all the assets that have been accumulated, purchased, transferred by then sitting governors from 2013 to 2017 and then onwards, they have all got to be in one document, that's the Assets and Liabilities Register, which forms part of the handover documents and artifacts and symbols and other items for that matter, such that when the governor now is leaving office, when a new governor is assuming, the sitting governor will have to, through the assistance of a committee which will be formed for the purpose of that transition, take that assets register, go through it with that committee, have it ascertained that indeed it is a reflection of all the assets of that county, including the details of those assets and the values, and then hand it over, such that then the possibility of having assets being lost is low. But Debarl, let me finalize by saying that can only be achieved if people comply with the law. Right now, very few of those counties we have talked to have got a clear and firm position on all the assets that they have been holding since they were handed over by the defunct local authorities. And as you know, when the city councils, municipal councils were in place, those are the ones that took over the most prime properties around this country. If you come to Nairobi, the most important and most valuable assets, fixed assets, that's land, plots, are in the hands of the county.
So did the transition authority
in the hands of the local authority then? That was the same scenario in all the local authorities in the country. So I believe that the way to go, Debarl, because it's important that we put this clearly, is that IGTRC, which has been given this mandate by law then, has got to ensure that they formally take a look and comply with the law now, together with the sitting governors. Because that's the body that took over, the Intergovernmental Transition Authorities Committee. The one who now took over from
Transition Authority.
From Transition Authority for purposes of that assets registry. So the point I was making is this, Debarl, that unless there is an effort and a determined one by IGTRC and the sitting governors to ensure that now there is compliance with this law, the law would just remain a law as many other laws and would not help. But the fact is that at the end of the day, when they're handing over, they have to have a register.
I think we can organize just a different discussion on that with the governors, you also being a part of a part panel, maybe later.
Thank you.
But let's just wind up on grafting the counties as well, because there were questions and issues that were raised about also the accountants. Should also these accountants be in the board? Briefly, I think there was someone who was asking that particular question. I can read some of them here before we have Nicholas Karani in JB saying the senators are not sincere because fights are due to fallout in tender allocations and other benefits promised to them and their cronies. Counties where governors and senators seem like a working team have found a collusion formula in eating. Of course, that is a viewer asking that. A point of correction, Jacoyo and Wagoro ain't lamenting about the system. The key issues are human error, human errors and not system errors. Also, we have Kenya. He says that I think MK, that is Moses Kajwang, can make a good president and deputized by Senator Kimani Wamatangi, doing a good job. PAC, keep it up. Assume the crying governors. This is what Mkenya is saying here. Maybe a response to that? Especially on the accountants, Senator Mithika Linturis?
Yeah, I want to allay the fear that from anyone that you require accountants to be sitting at the committee to properly interrogate the spending of money in counties. One, you must understand that the committee is fully resourced and is supported by the Office of the Auditor General, who sits permanently in those committees. And the matters that come before committee is not those matters that I think are so complex that you only need to deal with how ledgers or journals are statement, the proper manner in which statements are prepared and in what concepts. And that the only matters that come to our committee are matters that the governors or any accounting officer is not able to answer to the auditor by the time that the auditor leaves that particular institution of audit. And secondly, must be understood, some of the oversight roles or the work of the legislators does not only deal with the examination of books of accounts. It has to do with legislation. It has to do with representation of the people, where you have to articulate issues that concern your accountants at the plenary, in the National Assembly, and whatever other ideas. So this is a very important area, and I am sure the committee is up to the task, as the capacity, and if we lack the capacity, or Jacob Mendio having been a seasoned and being a seasoned politician, having worked in Parliament for a very long time,
and a consummate accountant as well,
giving such good comments or good ones for the work of the Senate.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Eseli, we want to close up on this.
I think the issue of county governments is a serious matter, because I don't think it's rocket science. Once you get into if we were a serious nation, this kind of thing should not happen. But then, as I've said over and over again, Kenya is one large criminal enterprise, so the governors have found their niche.
Yeah, but Debarl, I'm holding your newspaper, The Nation.
Yes.
There's not a single advertisement of a tender by any county. But I can tell you as we speak, overnight, the governors gave tenders. This is what the Senate is questioning. And I think we need to support the Senate. It is not always good to lament. When something is good, just say it is good. I've scanned through the newspapers. No county is advertising any tender.
But they normally do that with a pull-out, the My Government supplement.
Let me
I
just
think
tell
it
you,
comes every Wednesday.
let me just tell you, they do it after the fact.
After the fact?
And I know I know, for example, I can give you an example of tenderees, like in Homa Bay. They were just the other day demonstrating that some people have not been paid for so many years. Where is the money going? I mean, county money, if we give you 5 billion, shouldn't it be for specific reasons or specific projects? We have given them money, they are taxing people. I want to disagree with Oparanya when he says the governors need special treatment when they are arrested. I think the DCI, the DPP, arrest these thieves, the ones who are not nice. It's not to say that there is no good case about Mutua, there's no good case about Kivuda Kipwana, there's no good case about Kimemia. But if they have cases, bring them for questioning. I think we can do ourselves better going into the future. When somebody says human errors, if you deliberately commit an error, I think you belong to committee.
Thank you. All right. And of course, that particular paper also, before we discuss Mount Kenya politics, we want also to really just look at what is a splash today. The government is still gagging for more loans, and it says broke Kenya. That is what is on the front page of the Daily Nation today. Broke Kenya applies for World Bank loan. Barely weeks after getting 210 billion shillings Eurobond, Treasury CS Rotich is looking for another 75 billion shillings to finance President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four projects. This story continues on page 6 of the Daily Nation this morning. The question is, are we broke as a country? And I think this is the question I posed to you when we started, Dr. Eseli. Are we broke? We've heard that Rotich before, that is the CS for Treasury, saying that the country is broke. And there was so much pressure also. He actually had to change tones again and say, yes, we actually stable. But are we broke?
We are not broke, we are extravagant. Because
we're not broke, we are extravagant.
We are extravagant. So we are spending money where we should not spend, or more than we should spend on everything that we are doing. So we are more of extravagant than broke. Because you look at the tax revenue coming in. If you compare that to what the Kibaki regime was raking in, this one is raking in a lot of money. So we are not broke, we are just extravagant.
We're extravagant. Senator Linturi, are we broke or are we extravagant?
You know, whether broke or extravagant is a very relative terms to use and must be looked in what context as far as I'm concerned. Because, for example, if we have certain liabilities that must be paid within a particular period of time. Because I personally believe that for a country to grow, you must have debt. The only problem of accumulating debt is if you cannot be able to properly manage it, or you are accumulating debt which will not go to the intended purpose. And if that has to happen, then you'll be killing us a country. So in this particular case, yes, we are accumulating debt. And if we are accumulating debt, for what purpose are we taking that debt? And what is the likely impact in terms of returns after spending that particular money on what we are doing? So as far as I am concerned, with the very little information that I have, with what is happening out there in the country, the economics of the country, when you listen to suppliers in the counties that everybody is crying, is not being paid. You listen to people working for national government, they have not been paid. And you also look at whatever comes out in the papers that money is being stolen here, right and left, every day. Then makes us really get worried, because we are in the all very best intentions of trying to create employment in this country through the Procurement Act of 2015, where 30% of revenue either going to counties or to any government body or national government goes to the people with disability and the less, these marginalized groups. But what I hear in town is that even these people that wanted to give some lease of life through this particular law and these allocations, most of these people have been auctioned, most of their properties with the auctioneers, and you won't be surprised if anybody wants to check. And this is where I am basing my argument from. Look at the papers yesterday. The number of auctioneers putting handovers on the papers on how or on what date they are selling. They are selling property belonging to Kenyans. It's an alarming rate. I am told yesterday, I was being told last evening, Barclays Bank, to feed the auctioneers for, was it? No, not Barclays Bank, but the Nation. Sorry, where we are, you tell us whether it's true or not. Because somebody last night was telling me, Nation Media Group, and to feed auctioneers for the kind of support that they have given them through these handovers. That should tell you we are not doing well, and people are crying. So the truth of the matter is, if we have debt that we are not able to pay timely as and when required, if people work for you and give you an invoice in January, and you have not paid them in May, then it means we are not doing okay. We could be broke. Yes.
Right. Jacob, you?
And I think we are both broke and extravagant. But you saw the other day we went to look for money for SGR in China without properly supporting how we would pay it back. You know, think about SGR. It is the only trans-county or country rail line which does not terminate in any town. But they're just saying they want to keep building up to Uganda. We are very broke. We are overtaxed. And how I wish the Jubilee government could borrow from the intelligence or the intellect of Ghana and Zambia. Stop overtaxing us. Let us create employment. Put money in the pockets of a few people. Here is a country where only about 5 families are extremely rich. The rest of us, we are just scratching using whatever you can find, you scratch yourself. And I think it is very unfair. And personally, I think it is time for a proper revolution in this country.
Right. Lastly, Wamatangi.
Yes, Debarl, I think in my mind, if I would give maybe my views and do justice to the discussion. You know, Debarl, for our viewers, it's important to say to them that you know, governments operate the way any other normal business operates. For a government to function, you must have financing. Debarl, if tomorrow you wanted to start a small business, probably after your retirement, but I am sure you still have a few years to your retirement. But supposing you wanted to go and start a business, you need to get some financing. So borrowing would not be out of scope for you. You would look at where to borrow. So borrowing is not a crime in itself. And that's how all governments, even the richest, if you asked whether the United States have a debt, they have a debt so big. If you ask any country, ask Japan, ask whatever, that's how it works. Now, this is the issue. That yes, you secure financing for your operations, for building of your capacity, including if it's infrastructure, if it's all the other enablers. Mm-hmm. But the question is, what do you do with this money once you get it? And once you get that money, do you apply it correctly in the right places and eventually attain what you want to attain? And yes. I would summarize our challenge as this. Yes, we get loans. We have done what we should do in investment, for example, in infrastructure development and other areas. Yes, we have. But are we letting this translate downwards by enabling, especially the largest enabler and support of the economy, and that is the middle and small enterprises? When you look at, for example, Debarl, the headlines that is on the Standard today, review talks that force the president to act, and it is also in the Nation there, on page 4, where you're saying inside the dirty schemes of tax evasion. I first want to congratulate the president for having taken action on this and ensuring at least this matter is addressed one way or the other, and we can have a good end to it. But it is an indicator in the first place that we've been having a problem, that the biggest sector of our economy that drives growth of the entire economy has been having a serious affliction that has not been addressed. And what I would really want to say is that if we want to get real, meaningful, tangible progress and growth of our economy, creation of jobs, we must look at the middle and small enterprises sector. This is where the power of the nation is. This is where the power of the economy is. When the person in that scale is suppressed, is hindered, is locked in, that they're not able to do their business, no matter what you do as an economy. We can build airports, we can build ports, we can build railways, build highways, but as long as those that who are supposed to use those roads and drive the economy and make money for the economy, as long as we have built barriers around them, then there will not be much achievement. Let me finalize by saying I think I would want to urge all those that have been given the power by state, and the president for that matter, having given people the power to run some of those institutions downwards. For example, Kenya Bureau of Standards. For example, Kenya Revenue Authority, the port officials, the people at the Ministry of Interior, those who have a say in how some of these regulations are enforced, they have a duty to inform the president correctly for right action. Creating an impression, and I can tell the story myself if Debarl, I have the time, but we don't have the time. I can give evidence, documentary, that sometimes the bureaucracy within the system of the ports, for example, when one imports some goods, I had a case where somebody brought me the documents stuck for more than 3 months with goods they have paid for fully, and waiting for releases, but the goods are in the port for more than 3 months, fourth month, and now at that time they cannot deal with the overloaded charges of storage. And that is a trader who's telling you that if you multiplied that by 100, by 1,000, then what are you saying about the economy? So you know, the wrong information should not be given upwards to the president to create an impression as though the problem is the traders. Indeed, for example, like on this case of diversion of goods being declared as foreign or transit goods and then diverted into the local market. Yes, this has been a problem that has been there. It is age-old. It did not start with the time when consolidation of goods by small traders started. And there is a clear, perfect, lawful way for law enforcement, for the police, for the port officials to deal with it, because documentation starts right at the time of importation. So what I'm saying, Debarl, you know, as long as those with the authority choose to use either excuses for the inefficiencies, as long as they choose to portray the wrong image because they have not acted. And I can't understand up to today, up to this moment, why after we have done all the things that we have done, you still have people lamenting, crying, losing money. For example, in the port in Mombasa, in the port in here at ICD,
yes,
because they cannot have their goods cleared or given to them once they have paid. Yet, we are saying loudly and clearly that we want a vibrant economy. I think the work must start from downwards, and especially those with the keys to open the door for business to happen and for the economy to grow.
All right, thank you. I just wanted also to pick up on this particular headline that was there yesterday in the Star. You are unwanted in Kiambu, Ruto told, and this will just act as a segue to Mount Kenya politics as well. First of all, we are given to understand that there is a plan that is being mooted to have a Limuru 2 conference so that Mount Kenya region may pick up a new kingpin. That you don't have a person who's suited maybe to be a leader of the Mount Kenya region as far as this is concerned. So Limuru 2 conference is in the offing. Mr. Linturi, tell us more about this. And this was your governor saying this, actually, and together with the
comes from
no, but now we're talking. He will comment on the Kiambu.
No, I could help him because because
no, he's just spoken.
He's donor to me, so I can help him to start it because remember, Debarl, even when the Limuru 1 conference was held, it was not held just by the leaders or the politicians of Kiambu. It was a regional meeting that even actually went way beyond not only even the Mount Kenya region, but even other regions were involved. And that's why it became famous. Now, this Limuru 2 being spoken about right now, I tell you, Debarl, and this is what I see as a leader. I think there are people who have arrogated themselves the business of getting too busy, but I would not say arrogate, but then I think I would then use the word allocated to be more fairer, because it is a choice they have made. But to be too busy in the kitchen of politics at the wrong time, they have hastened their meal. And they're trying to serve it when it is uncooked. It's too early. There has to be stewing time and cooking time, because this business of Limuru 2 conference, there's no leader, there is no what. These guys have, these teams have, I think, overshot themselves. They are way ahead of their time. This is not the time to cook the sport and start talking about Limuru 2 and what have you. This is time to grow the country and build the country and invest in what we have promised. It's time to deliver on the promises made. Then, if you ask yourself, how long does it take for leaders to converge, sit together, make a decision, and probably elect leaders or people to occupy offices? It's a matter of a few weeks. And you have this done. So why in 2019 should we be talking about the stories of 2020 and making it so large and hyping it up?
But it seems there's a crisis within Mount Kenya right now,
that everybody thinks that heaven is coming down tomorrow.
Thank you.
So I want to say to those that are so busy trying to drive the country left, right, and center in such political typhoon, to understand that there are so many out of the more than 40 million Kenyans, majority of us Kenyans, probably more than 40 million, 98% want first to grow the country. We want to see a good economy. We want to see our children in school.
All right.
We want to be able
so
to
is the Deputy President unwanted in
Kiambu?
Thank you. Is the Deputy President unwanted in your county?
No, of course not. Who said the Deputy President is the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, period. And Kenya and Kiambu is a part of the Republic of Kenya. And when he has any business to do in Kiambu, he can come to Kiambu. If he has a project he wants to come and oversee in Kiambu, he can come. He is the principal assistant of the President. So unless we are saying, somebody is saying or meaning those words to mean that Kiambu has now been excisioned from
if
Kenya.
He cannot stop campaigning for the 2022 politics. Let's hear from Mithika Linturi. First of all, is there a crisis within Mount Kenya region as it is right now? First of all, of course, we know Jubilee is split between Kieleweke and Tangatanga. That is a reality on the ground. I don't know which side you're actually rooting for so far. Maybe you can declare today. Omatangi has been very cagey on this. We've never known until today where actually he stands. Yeah, he's been called by Amolo Atende. I don't know, Kieletanga is actually the new coinage for Omatangi. I don't know where you are yourself.
I think, Debarl, for those people that are listening to us, yes, it is true that there is a lot of heat in the country right now, and I would associate this heat with the failure by our very active politicians to understand that, just as the President has been saying, that we need to concentrate and address the issues that are affecting Wananchi. And I've just decided to be on the campaign trail nearly every morning, every day of the week. So I am a person who believes that within this particular period of time, that we really must be able to work hard and demonstrate to the people of this country what we were able to do within the 5 years, the second term of President Uhuru. That will be something that will be able to propel us to the next election cycle when we're almost getting to that kind of 2022. But why this is also happening, we really must ask ourselves why this has to happen. Because there is one of the things that we can't run away from is that some, facts at times are facts. We can't change them. As we approach 2022, it is indeed clear that President Uhuru Kenyatta won't be leaving office, because the constitutional term for the president is only two terms, and is now the second term. He has around 3 years remaining, and which we need to support him deliver on the kind of legacy on his projects that he wants to. But why we have to be firm and to ensure that this seat is managed is because people have sent the wrong signals. The politicians, the technocrats that work within government and other areas have sent signals to show that yes, even if we are working for this particular period, there are all indications that there is a system that is meant to fight the deputy president, who is supposedly supposed to be within the Jubilee fraternity, to be one of the first people to compete with any other candidate that would want to run for presidency within the Jubilee party. And because people are apprehensive, people are politicians are always very mistrusting, and this has caused a lot of anxiety, and this is what has caused anxiety. Because if everybody else was stopping and saying we will be inviting every member of Jubilee that wants to run as candidate in the year 2022 to come and participate in a democratic nomination where we'll pick our candidate, I don't think this seat will be there. But when you hear politicians, when you hear technocrats and those that can be sent that belong to a certain faction or support you, this is likely to happen. So I would only ask our people to remain focused on our development agenda for this region, and also ask our politicians to remain faithful, to remain and to run away from this tag that has been always associated to our people as being masters of deceit and hypocrisy. Because that's why you find me, I don't talk, because I don't want to contradict as a position, because most of the people that even talk out there may not even have the knowledge or understanding or ideas of how all this Jubilee thing came about. Some of us have been there for quite some time, and we have a lot of history. We know the steps that we went through, and because it's politics, and I think politics is for today, tomorrow there will be other things, we will leave it at that. But as we approach 2022, when our president will be retiring, of course we'll have an opportunity to sit down with the other Kenyans and to agree what
Thank you.
What we can be able, the kind of bargain that we could really have for our country, because we have a responsibility to ensure that we have the best.
So is there a rebellion within Jubilee as well as it is right now? Because, of course, of the Tangataga and the Kieleweke, are people feeling that the leadership of Jubilee has not been supportive? Because most of them also talk about the leadership of Jubilee has been talking condescendingly down on them, especially when we go for these PGA meetings, and you've not even had your PGA meetings until right now. And so there's a bugbear and fear that we don't have leadership within Jubilee Party, and the Mount Kenya region is feeling that yes, it's a high time that we have a figure that is a stabilizing figure within our region that is lacking so far.
No. It would be wrong to say that, because in the round of Mount Kenya,
but some of
the stabilizing figure here as a leader is we have the president as our leader of the region and the president of this country.
We agree.
So it would be wrong to say that we do not have a leader. But the only thing that we also
No. But the thing is, the reality on the ground is, of course, when you come on media on other fronts, will say, yes, all is intact. But when people come away from all this glare of cameras is when they speak out and say, of course, the leadership is not treating us well. The leadership has been talking to us condescendingly. We are not, some of you are not really supporting the president as it is. Just an appearance you do so, but when now you're actually in different cocoons, you're not with the president.
You know, let me tell you, and this has to be taken into the right context. We support the president. And when we say we support the president, we may differ in some things, because we do not have to agree with him on everything. Like in terms of the agenda for the country and delivering on his mandate, you've heard us saying that we are in support and we have no problem. Probably where I would say we have a problem with the president in the manner that he may be doing his things is the management of the Jubilee Party. For example, I have said many times, and that we require to have an election for the Jubilee Party, so that when I go to Meru and I know to Kegoi or whichever one, we know who the members of the face bearers of Jubilee are. That is the only area which you can blame him on.
So there's poor management in the Jubilee Party right now.
Because we've not been able to come up with an election arrangement proper for the party, so that the party can be floated on the ground. That is the only area I do not really personally believe.
So you think
the manner in which the party is being run, and for purposes of ensuring that there is stability, and so that there is no question, there is no anxiety in the region. People have to be given the party to them, so that at least they are able to own the party.
You think the party is teetering on the edge of collapse right now as it is, from your assessment?
The party is not going to collapse, my friend. Let me tell you, I am a member of Jubilee, and I will not go to any other party. We will ensure that we'll put our house in order. That one I will tell you when we have that opportunity, because we really don't have to be told come and do it. We will make sure that there is pressure enough to ensure that national elections for the parties are called, so that we can, because the party belongs to us. It's not a one-man individual affair.
Okay, let's hear from Dr. Eseli as an observer, not a member of Mount Kenya region, of course, to just tell us what he thinks.
The DP is one smart politician, very smart politician. I think he's fully aware that Kenyans are generally fed up with Jubilee, and they might not be willing to elect them in 2022. So he's cleverly distancing himself from the ills of Jubilee and trying to lay them at the feet of the sitting president. And you can see it from his defiance. You know Kenyans love a defiant politician. So his defiance is well calculated. And he started laying down his campaign strategies as we were going into 2017 elections. He was already laying down his campaign strategies, to the extent that even as much as Mount Kenya might say there's no problem, he kicked out almost 3/4 of the leaders of Mount Kenya through the nominations, and left a very.
Let him finish.
Let him finish. I did not interrupt you.
Let him finish.
Instead, he left now rookies who are always busy, sycophanting around him and creating a personality cult. So he's been a very smart cookie, and actually Mount Kenya needs to be very, very careful. I think they have been outsmarted this time. This time they have been outsmarted. Because
are you trying to insinuate that he's the one who's rocking actually the Jubilee
I've told you he's a very smart politician. He knows that come 2022, Kenyans might not want to vote for Jubilee as they know it.
But we don't want to write down assumptions of what you're saying.
He's trying to recreate a different him, divorced from the Jubilee saga, so that maybe Kenyans could look at him carefully. Don't underrate the DP. He's a very smart politician, and he has also got some very smart backers and data. And because him is full-scale campaign, social media everywhere, it's there. So him is already full-scale into campaign. What amuses me is that whenever Western talks of meeting to create some leadership, they are told, oh, you don't be tribal, you are unable to meet, you are unable to do it. But now when Central talks of Limuru too, nobody seems to be throwing any brickbats towards them. I don't know why that is different. But however, I think the situation we are facing now is very difficult, because where we are now as a country, development, even appointments to high office has been politically weaponized. So that if you don't toe a certain line, you will not get certain development. So I think Kenya is not at a good place. It's not just Mount Kenya region. Kenya is not at a good place now.
All right, Jacob Midio.
Yes, I agree with the Seli that Bill Ruto is a very smart politician, but lacks wisdom. That's the only caveat I can add. Very little wisdom.
So smart and wisdom, they do not go together?
No, they don't go together. You can be very smart, very aggressive, very everything. But if you don't have wisdom, you're going nowhere. And Wamatangi and Inturi have not told you that their people vote differently, and they will not vote for William Ruto. That's the only thing they are not saying. That's why Wamatangi can never be on. He can never say publicly where he is, because they run the tribalism thing. And
what do you mean tribalism thing? You need to be very clear.
They cannot vote for anybody. And Debarl, 60 years after independence, we should know when Kikuyu voted differently. It's just good to say it so that they can change.
I hope you are referring to Matangi because I'm not Kikuyu.
No, I'm just referring to all of you.
No.
Mount Kenya. Okay, let me say Mount Kenya.
I was waiting for him to finish that.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Yes,
You Jaco just finished.
Yes, it would be nice, Wamatangi, to hear you pronounce yourself. You know, you were asked a question of yes or no, and you refused to say yes or no. You just talked for about 5 minutes saying nothing.
Intelligent people have no yes or no answer.
That is, I hope that is not to say that you are more intelligent than the rest of us, because you are not. The thing is, I wanted to say, Linturi says they are supporting the president, and who is not? We are all supporting the president. In fact, we have given him too much support. So when you say to help him craft a legacy, it's not legacy. Uhuru has a serious legacy of corruption. He has serious legacy. You know, when we come, and Debarl has challenged you, when we come on national television, and when you say there was an election, there was never an election in 2017. That's why I'm sitting this way, that's why you're sitting that way. All corruption. So if we want to help Uhuru do good for us, he must make about turn. You cannot have a minister of finance who's corrupt, a minister of agriculture, a minister of trade. Everybody is being questioned, and they don't step aside, and you expect the rest of... Look at those. Do you want to tell me all those KRA people who are arrested, the 100 of them, they are corrupt, and Uhuru's ministers are not?
But Jokoyo, I think you've really gone off the rails.
No,
Are we still on Mount Kenya?
No, I am on Mount Kenya. I'm on Mount Kenya because I'm saying what they cannot say. I'm saying what they cannot say. I have not even wrote it. So what I am... No, Matangi, you had your chance. What I'm saying, they are rebelling and they have no direction. That direction cannot be in Limuru too. Please involve all of us in engaging Kenyans into our future.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wamatangi?
Yeah. No, I think I had wanted to say a few things, but that last comment now almost makes me change my mind. You know, when he says that engage us, I suddenly remembered that we have the handshake. And Jacoyo now is a part of us. That's why he's saying.
I'm the shake.
Yeah, he's saying involve us, but. You know, because I know our listeners have been listening to you keenly, I want to make them understand better, you know, what you are saying and how you are saying it, and especially your choice of words. Because Debarl, you know, Jacoyo nowadays has a library of a choice of words from the dictionary that he chooses that he must use when he's speaking. Remember when we were young and learning English, you know, we used to have words that we used to describe as bombastic. so Jacoyo has picked on a few bombastic ones that he must drop all the time. You know, when you hear him talking about legacy of corruption, when you hear, you know, they have no direction, those are choice statements that Jacoyo has intentionally decided to take and to use to divert. But I want to be clear that first, you say that can Mount Kenya declare when did they ever vote differently? And I would beg that you would have explained to our viewers this morning what do you mean by differently? Because differently should not be misconstrued to mean that Mount Kenya votes differently when they have voted for a candidate they have not chosen. Because, Debarl, in a democracy, see, we start our campaigns by forming political parties. For example, like we did in 2013, we formed Jubilee. And once we have formed Jubilee, all of us invite other like-minded thinkers. And we partnered, for example, at that time with the party of URP, where William Ruto was their leader. We have, in the subsequent elections in 2017, then invited other parties. And remember, I've said this before on this platform, that we collapsed more than 20 parties from all over this country, including some from Luo Nyanza, to form what we now have as the Jubilee Party. And then we voted commonly from one thought, all of us. And the votes that took, for example, the President Uhuru Kenyatta to State House are not Kikuyu votes only. They're not Mount Kenya votes only. He is there courtesy of votes of Kenyans from all over this country. Suffice it to say that because of the numbers that the Mount Kenya region enjoys, that we have a lot more votes. So when we vote, our vote is a determinant to who the winner is. That should not be misconstrued to mean that when we vote with our votes as a bloc to support a certain candidate that we have agreed upon, all of us unilaterally as a party, that should not be misconstrued or be used by Jacoyo to mean that we have not voted for somebody else that we have chosen. Because, for example, if then the choice candidate in Jubilee as a party was another person other than Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, and we were going to vote and we are in there, the question would be, would we have voted that person? My answer is yes. Now, lastly, the question that we have been having on whether we would have to have a referendum or not is going to resolve some of the questions that Jacoyo now is trying to bring up. Mm-hmm. And the question is this: when we vote for a certain candidate that we have chosen, that we want to vote for, by virtue of the fact that we will be having that one person sitting in office, does it then result in the dissatisfaction of others who have participated at a time, or can it be used by naysayers then, like Jacoyo Midiwo, to give the impression that those that voted along with the others, because those part of that group had more votes, then are either shortchanged or they should have gotten a better deal? And I believe the drive for the referendum is intended to address that. That would we be saying then that because of the nature of our politics, because of the history that we have, and the structure of our communities,
thank you.
Should we then look at the possibility of expanding?
Thank you.
And we'll be saying that when we go for an election and we are voting as one united group, for example, in a party, that would have diverse positions whereby people would feel fairly represented in the role, as long as they can see that the effort of their vote is translated into what you would call a figure that they can relate to. So Jacoyo, your worry is not that Mount Kenya does not vote for others. It is the worry that when they vote, and their vote is determinant after a pre-agreement to vote alongside with others, then the result is that the person chosen will, in most cases, and like we have had 3 presidents, be from Mount Kenya region. But that does not equal to not voting along with other people.
All right, thank you. Now, we are just, of course, about to wind up, but I would just want to also bring up this particular editorial cartoon that is in today's Daily Nation as we're winding up as well. Because it seems since also Right Honorable Raila Odinga took up his new role as the envoy of AU, everyone is really straining at the leash to really understand how this particular role is being executed so far. As a news person, I can't remember when actually we've ever done any story of Raila maybe having a groundbreaking ceremony, maybe in Mozambique or Senegal, where there is a infrastructure, is being, commissioned or something like that. So, looking at this editorial cartoon, let's just begin with, first of all, the Secretary General of Ford Kenya.
It's interesting.
It is there, Raila Odinga really straining at the leash as well to really look at that particular CV as Baba CV for AU Special Envoy position. When do I start? Has it started?
That's what I'm wondering. When the cartoonist says Baba is asking, when do I start? And yet recently we've seen him in Congo, in various countries, meeting the presidents and talking about infrastructure. So I've really not got what the cartoonist wanted to imply. Is he implying that Baba has not started work yet?
Has he started from your own assessment?
Well, I've seen the media reports where he has been to meet with president over infrastructure projects. So to me, I think he's started.
All right, but the issue is he uncoupled with the politics of the day in this country as far as his new role is concerned?
Well, those who hope that he'll be uncoupled from the politics of the country, I think were wrong. Because I think it's difficult for a person of Raila's stature.
He's depicted as a chameleon. And of course, you can see inside chameleon, we have Kanu, which has been swallowed. And also, this particular chameleon also is having
Jubilee,
the Jubilee colors as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mythical Inturi.
You know, these are very complicated now. And because one, even when you ask whether he's or not, for me to be able to say whether he's doing something or not, you know, there's no job that does not have its own description. You must know what you are supposed to do in whatever position that you are appointed to. So it's difficult. I don't know what his job description is. But looking at the chameleon, and the only feature or the only thing that I know is permanent in a chameleon is its ability to change color depending on the environment. So probably there couldn't be, people should be very cautious when looking at my friend, Prime Minister. Because
very cautious.
Very cautious because he may be today himself, tomorrow he will be something else, and the other day it will be something else different. Right. So you can't trust him. You can't be sure of what his next move will be like.
All right, and of course even the governor Waititu said, mtu ni mchoraji. Mujichunge na yeye kabisa. You can see there's a whistle there. He's a whistleblower as well. He claimed that he blew the whistle on fake gold. And that is another role that he has as well. Maybe we can hear from the cousin. This is Jacobi Dio.
He knows it better. You're being very unfair. I didn't wake up at 4 a.m. to become a cousin. I was born a cousin. But Raila's role in this AU thing is advisory. AU does not build roads. You cannot pinpoint a road or a SGR which was built by AU in any African country. So I think it's advisory. He's trying to stop them from being corrupt. I think he's doing a lot of engagement, except that AU does not have a budget. AU is broke. I think he's doing his best.
Right.
That's all he can do.
Kimani Matangi? I think for starters, Debarl, it's good.
Briefly, as we're winding up,
it's good to acknowledge that that Raila has built a strong personality around himself. He's really had a very fortified history as a political leader, and also as a change agent in most of the political formations we've had. And remember, during the struggle for multi-party democracy in Kenya, other struggles, for the freedoms of this country, he has been fully involved. Formations of several political parties when one didn't fit. So he has that legacy upon himself, and so it should not be, be an issue when you find that if he's quiet, Kenyans will be concerned. But more important is that because he has been, and I said this before, synonymous with opposition politics in Kenya. So when he is on the other side, it becomes a bit confusing. Lastly, is on that role in the AU. I think, like Aseli said, I've seen him sometimes even meeting the Prime Minister of India on certain discussions. And I believe if that be his role, so be it. But then definitely him being a local boy, born and bred and grown up in politics, it is very, very hard to remove him from the political scene.
Right. Yeah. Yusuf Shiko, as we're winding up, says that purporting to hold a Limuru II meeting to choose a leader for the region is a very naive political move. Regional kingpins, albeit a retrogressive idea, evolve over time in politics of this miserable country called Kenya. Also, Abdallah Madambo says that I'm not sure if Kenya is broke, because how come we have millions of money being dished out every weekend? We have high liquidity, but the flow is stagnant. Jim Rose Moody saying that, ask the panel, is it true that the US government have withdrawn the 300 billion shillings meant for the Nairobi-Mombasa dual carriage, fearing that the figures were increased 3 to 4 times We're not really sure. This is what Jim Rose is asking. Of course, we won't have time for that this morning, but I'll ask my panelists off camera. And lastly also, well, somebody is loading. Kimani Matangi is the only intelligent politician from Kiambu. I thought all is lost, but there is hope. Right. Those are your comments. Thank you for watching People in Politics this morning. I want to thank you also, our panelists, for that very cogent discussion that we had this morning. Thank you also for your valued company. Living with Us is up next.